Hey guys, welcome back. So in this video, let's try to see a case study on a normalization. So I would like to take a very raw table and see if we can convert that table into, you know, a well-structured a database of some more tables, which in which all of them are at least in the third number form, and we'll see why any sort of redundancy might happen, and we'll see why actually the normalization is required at an enterprise level. So let's create some sort of tables and see how it actually changes that. Right. Okay, so let me create a table. Okay, I'm pasting this command. So I'm creating a table called as bank customers. So it has a customer ID and it is going to be our primary key, and we have the customer name, we have account numbers, phone numbers, address, and branch name. Okay, this feels fine. So let's execute this and let the table be created. So yes, the table is created. Now let's try to insert some values into this table. So I'm going to insert a lot of values so that we can get the essence of normalization. So I have picked up 15 values. I'm going to insert into this table. Okay, let me execute that. Yes, so I was able to insert this. So now let's see how this table looks like. I have selected star from this table. So yeah, so this is our table. So let's analyze this table and see if there are any shortcomings. Yeah. Okay, so this table looks fine to us because it is actually storing all the details of the customers in a bank. But if you look closely, you might find some sort of redundancy. What's the redundancy? See, this account number, so this column is not a single valued attribute column. For some records we have a single value, for some records it's having two values, for some it has three, some okay. So it's not a completely single valued column, right? But okay, then what is the problem? I mean, why is it okay? Why is it a troublesome thing? It's because if you're trying to do something on this account number one or two, then how are you supposed to know that there is something called as an account number one or two? You cannot, because you can only know this entire record. But if you're trying to exactly identify this exact resource called account number one or two, you cannot. And the same goes for the phone numbers. So we have two phone numbers. If I say I have this phone number is okay. Who is actually the holder of this number? I cannot say, because they're all mixed up. I cannot retrieve two of them at once. So they are not uniquely identifiable. So this actually eliminates the entire purpose of this customer ID, which is used as a primary key. If we have a primary key, and still we are not able to identify records uniquely, then it's kind of useless having something called as a primary key. Then what can we do? So as you know, the first normal form says you have to remove all multi-valued attributes. So there shouldn't be any column with multiple attributes, and your table should have a customer. It it should have a primary key column. They has it has to have at least a single column which is able to identify each record of the table uniquely. So we need to have that, and we need to ensure that the columns are okay. So they have, so there is a no naming conflict. I don't see any naming conflict. So we have to remove this multi-valued attributes. So in what way we can do that? So can I create something called as account number one, account number two, account number three? No, because it's actually a variable. So the number of accounts, it could be variable. So we cannot say that we can only have account numbers up till three or four. So no, they can. So there could be more. So a good idea could be to extend that into a row than into a column. So okay, how can I extend that into a row? So will it, you know, Will it decrease this redundancy? We'll see. So, to create such a thing, I have to divide these things into some other tables. I have to create another table for account number and for branch name. I have to do it some other way. So let me write the script for it. So paste it. Okay, so I'm creating something called as a bank customer 1NF. Fine. So I created this table. Okay, and customer bank customers was done, and now let's create customer accounts. So since they might have multiple accounts, I'm going to create a separate table for that. And then for the customer accounts, it's done, and also for the phone number as well, we got an issue. So we execute this. Oh yes. So we did execute that. So I'm creating another. So we have created three tables. Now what can I do? Now I'm going to insert the values as it was needed. So I'm going to take the same database that we have seen above, and I'm going to, okay, execute the script. Yeah, so everything's inserted. So let's see how each of these tables look like. So let's see if we were able to remove that multi-valued attribute thing. Okay, let's see if we're able to do that in the customer phones table. Okay, from the bank customers table, let's draw it from the bank customers table first and see if it's doing fine. It's the customers, so we have the customers, so there is no issue with this. Okay, let's see how is it the bank with the customer accounts one enough. So for this table we had an issue that the customer accounts are not a single value. We have multiple values for that. So now are we able to solve this thing? Yes, right. So for the customer ID one, like I have this 101 and the 102. So I can have as many of this customer one to have as many accounts, right? So this actually eliminates the one and of okay the unnormalized form issue. So now we can uniquely identify anything. But is it possible? So it is actually not possible in this particular table. So using this customer ID, we are not able to uniquely identify that. But using the customer ID and account number as a composite primary key, we can. So there is some issue that we have, so we sort of generated, but still it has solved another issue. And okay, let's see if it's the same with the phone numbers, because for the phone numbers we had a similar issue. Yeah. So we did the same thing. We did divide it into, yes, we have the customer ID as well as phone number. But now it is a case that the customer ID itself is not enough to uniquely identify them. So we need to have composite primary keys. So that's a bit of a headache, but still, it's not the previous headache that we had, that we are not even able to identify a record uniquely. So this was so now these three, so all these three tables are now in a 2NF. Now let's see if there are any partial dependencies. Let's see if the customer ID and branch name have anything interesting with them. So bank customers and see. Okay, let's see if we can find any transfer dependency. Right. Okay. For the customer name, so okay, if this is the name of my customer, then they will belong to this New York City, right? And in a same way, the ID and the branch name are unique for any record that you can take. So since there is no Actually, there is no record that is repeating. But if you were to add any records, so we can see that the customer ID is actually dependent on the bank name, as well as the customer name. Is okay, the customer name could be unique, it may not be unique, but it can have a customer specific details. So we have to break those two into separate entities, right? So we have to create two other tables with the name the customers into 2 and F.